There was a time when Charles Ponzi was seen as a financial genius. Crowds lined up outside his office, begging him to take their money. In just months, he was a millionaire, living in mansions, driving fast cars, and hailed as a Wall Street wizard. But behind the headlines and hype was nothing. No business, no profit, just lies. His scam was so shocking, so devastating, that a century later, we still call it by his name.
This is the untold story of the man who promised fortunes and stole dreams. Charles Ponzi was born in Italy in 1882, not poor, but far from wealthy. His family had once been elite, merchants, officials, men of status. But by Charles' time, all of that was gone. His father was a postal worker. His mother hoped education would restore their legacy. So she sent him to university in Rome. But Ponzi had other plans. Not books, but fashion, women, gambling, and luxury. He blew through his inheritance trying to look rich instead of becoming rich. Eventually, he flunked out and fled to America, chasing dreams of gold streets and second chances. In 1903, Ponzi arrived in Boston with just $2.50 to his name. He scraped by working odd jobs, waiter, clerk, painter. But the glamour he craved was nowhere in sight. So Ponzi started cheating, shortchanging customers, lying to bosses. Eventually, he ended up in Montreal, working at a shady bank that paid absurd interest. Turns out, the bank was running its own fraud, robbing Peter to pay Paul. When the scam collapsed, Ponzi forged the check and got arrested. 3 years in prison. After release, he was caught smuggling immigrants into the U.S., another 2 years behind bars. But inside prison, he wasn't just rutting, he was planning. Out of jail again, Ponzi tried to go legit. He started a small import-export business in Boston. It failed. Then, he launched a magazine called The Trader's Guide. Printed ads, sent letters, pitched to businesses. Nobody cared. Broke and humiliated, Ponzi was ready to give up. Until, one day in 1919, he received a letter from Spain. Inside it, a little paper slip, an international reply coupon, IRC, meant to cover return postage. And that little slip was the key to his biggest idea yet. Ponzi realized something most people didn't. IRC prices vary between countries. If he bought them cheap in Europe and redeemed them in America, he could theoretically turn a profit. It was called arbitrage, a legit financial tactic. So Ponzi launched the Securities Exchange Company, claiming he could turn $100 into $150 in 45 days. People laughed until they saw the first investors actually get paid. Then it was madness. In weeks, thousands of people lined the streets outside his office. Everyday folks, immigrants, factory workers, all handing him their life savings. At its peak, Ponzi made $250,000 a day. But the truth? He never bought a single IRC. Ponzi had no international network, no bulk stamps. He simply took new money and paid it to old investors. Classic fraud. But it worked for a while. The Boston Post called him a financial wizard. He bought mansions, wore diamond pins, and smoked cigars with gold holders. But in July 2020, the same paper turned on him. A real financial analyst did the math. Ponzi would have needed 160 million IRCs to make those profits. Only 27,000 existed. The walls began to close in, and his own publicist, William McMasters, turned whistleblower. He called Ponzi a financial idiot who couldn't even do basic math. The scam was exposed, and the empire collapsed. Ponzi was indicted on 86 counts of mail fraud. He pled guilty to one and got just 5 years. But once out, he couldn't help himself. He ran another scam in Florida, selling swampland as luxury property. This time, it failed fast. He fled under a fake identity, got caught in New Orleans, and sent to prison again. By now, his wife had left him. His money was gone, and his name was ruined. Deported to Italy, Ponzi spent his final years in poverty, blind, broke, and forgotten. He died in Brazil in 1949 in a charity hospital, buried in an unmarked grave. The man who once handled millions died with nothing. Charles Ponzi didn't invent the scheme, but he perfected it and gave it a name that still haunts the world. From Bernie Madoff to crypto con artists, his blueprint lives on, because one truth never changes. People will always want something for nothing, and there will always be a Ponzi ready to sell it to them. If you think this was insane, wait till you hear about Joe Lowe, the man who stole billions and partied with Leonardo DiCaprio.